Joy Kimitra Brown was 45 years old, a devoted mother, a teacher who shaped young minds, a woman determined to build a future for herself and her daughter. But on the evening of June 25, 2023, everything changed. A call came into Hampton's Public Safety Communications at 7:44 p.m., a report of a gunshot victim inside a home on Wendell Drive. When officers arrived, they found Joy Brown. She had been shot in the head. In another part of the home, a man, her ex-boyfriend, Calvin Lamont Jackson, was injured. He was rushed to the hospital with life-threatening wounds, but Joey was pronounced dead at the scene. In the hours that followed, police would say the shooting appeared to be domestic in nature. Friends and family would say they had feared this moment for years, and text messages would reveal something chilling. Joy Brown had been afraid for her life. She told those closest to her that she felt unsafe. She said she was being stalked. She said she had found a tracking device. She wrote the words, "He's going to put me in a casket." She called police. She reported assaults. But the system did not protect her. This is the story of Joy Kimitra Brown, a woman who had so much more to give, a life that should not have ended this way, and the pursuit of justice for a daughter left without a mother. Who was Joy Brown? What made her so beloved by her students, her friends, and her family? To understand the loss, we first have to understand the life she lived. Before June 25, 2023, before the police reports, the unanswered calls, and the tragedy, there was Joy Brown, an educator, a mentor, a mother. She was someone who saw potential in every student and wanted to help them succeed. She was more than just a teacher. She was a leader in her community, a woman who balanced her passion for education with the drive to build a future for herself and her daughter. Joy Kimitra Brown was born and raised in Hampton, Virginia. Those who knew her described her as driven, compassionate, and full of life. Teaching wasn't just a job, it was her calling. She believed in discipline, in encouragement, in pushing students to see beyond their limits. At Kecoughtan High School, where she worked as a health and physical education teacher since 2019, she was more than just an instructor. She was a mentor. Students would later recall how she motivated them, how she pushed them to be better, and how she always had time for those who needed guidance. Joy loved what she did. She had this energy, this passion that made her students feel seen. She wasn't just teaching them about health or sports. She was teaching them about life. She always told us to work hard for what we wanted. She was like a second mom to some of us. Losing her, it still doesn't feel real. But Joy was not only a teacher, she was also an entrepreneur. She had recently stepped into the world of real estate, building something beyond the classroom. Friends say she had big dreams. She wanted to create wealth, leave something behind for her daughter, and live life on her own terms. Joy was ambitious. She never settled. Whether it was real estate or education, she always gave it her all. She was planning for a future she never got to see. To understand what happened on June 25, 2023, we have to go back to where it started, to the man who would later be charged with her murder, Calvin Lamont Jackson. Joy and Calvin met years ago. Their relationship led to the birth of their daughter, and although their romantic relationship didn't last, Calvin remained in Joy's life. They shared the responsibility of raising their child. He lived in the home with her, co-parenting, and for a time, it seemed like an arrangement that worked. But behind closed doors, there were signs of trouble. Signs that, in hindsight, paint a much darker picture. Court documents show that the first reported incident of violence between Joy and Calvin dates back to 2007. She accused him of assault. The charges were later dropped. Then, in 2012, police were once again called to the home on Wendell Drive. Reports indicate that Jackson had punched Joy twice, then locked the house, leaving their baby trapped inside. Again, no long-term legal consequences followed. In 2021, another incident occurred. This time, Jackson was formally charged with assault after punching Joy. But once again, the case did not go to trial. The charges were nolle prosequi, meaning they were dismissed by the prosecution. She told me she was scared. She said he had a temper, but the law never really did anything to hold him accountable. It was always brushed off. Joy confided in those close to her. She told them she was afraid. She told them she felt trapped. She told them, in her own words, "One of us is going to end up dead." Her fears weren't unfounded. She had receipts. Text messages sent to her closest friends revealed chilling details. She found a tracking device on her car. She suspected he was following her. And in a series of texts that would later serve as evidence of her fear, she wrote, "CJ is going to kill me. He's going to put me in a casket." Despite these warning signs, the legal system failed her. The reports were filed, the allegations were made, but nothing changed. June 25th, 2023, began like any other summer day in Hampton, Virginia. However, as the day progressed, an unsettling silence surrounded the life of Joy Kimitra Brown, a silence that would soon reveal a devastating truth. Throughout the day, friends and family attempted to reach Joy. Calls went unanswered. Messages received no reply. For those who knew her well, this was out of character. I tried calling her multiple times. Joy was always quick to respond, especially when it came to her daughter. When I couldn't get in touch with her, I felt something was wrong. As evening approached, concern turned into alarm. Tamika Dixon, a close friend, decided to check on Joy personally. When I pulled up and saw her car in the driveway, my heart sank. I knocked, called out, nothing. The door was unlocked, so I went in. Inside, the house was eerily quiet. As Tamika moved through the familiar space, she sensed something was terribly amiss. Simultaneously, neighbor Jermar James, who hadn't seen or heard from the couple, felt compelled to check on them. I hadn't heard from them all day, which was unusual. I decided to see if everything was okay. Entering the home, Jermar was met with an unsettling scene. I walked in and found CJ sitting there looking dazed. He just said, "What's up, bro?" I asked him where Joy was, and he told me downstairs. I didn't see her there, so I went upstairs and found her in the bedroom, Jermar James said. Jermar discovered Joy lying unresponsive, a gunshot wound evident. The gravity of the situation was undeniable. Emergency services were dispatched immediately. Upon arrival, officers found Joy Brown deceased from a gunshot wound. Calvin Lamont Jackson, also present, was suffering from injuries and was transported to a local hospital with life-threatening conditions. The Hampton Police Division initiated a death investigation, quickly determining that the incident appeared to be domestic-related. The medical examiner later ruled Joy's death a homicide due to a gunshot wound to the head. As the investigation unfolded, the community grappled with the loss of a beloved teacher, friend, and mother. The events of that night left many questions unanswered and a profound sense of grief. In the wake of this tragedy, attention turned to the history between Joy and Calvin, a history marked by turmoil and warning signs that, in hindsight, painted a clearer picture of the dangers Joy faced. The community's call for justice for Joy grew louder as friends and family sought answers and accountability for the loss of a woman who had touched so many lives. As the investigation continued, the focus shifted to understanding the events leading up to that fateful night and the systemic failures that may have contributed to this tragic outcome. The story of Joy Brown serves as a poignant reminder of the importance of addressing domestic violence and the need for systemic change to protect those at risk. As we delve deeper into this case, we honor Joy's memory by seeking justice and advocating for a safer future for all. This is the story of Joy Kimitra Brown, a life cut short, but a legacy that continues to inspire change. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please reach out to local support services. Help is available. Together, we can work towards a future where tragedies like this never happen again. Thank you for joining us in honoring Joy's life and advocating for justice. This concludes our documentary on Justice for Joy, the life and tragic death of Joy Kimitra Brown. May her story inspire change and bring awareness to the critical issue of domestic violence. The tragic death of Joy Kimitra Brown sent shockwaves through the Hampton community, leaving a profound sense of loss among those who knew her and igniting a collective demand for justice. Community's reaction. Joy's impact as a dedicated educator was evident in the outpouring of grief from her students, colleagues, and friends. At Cacoughton High School, where she had taught since 2019, students remembered her as more than just a teacher. She was always there for us, pushing us to do our best. It's hard to believe she's gone, Colleagues echoed these sentiments, highlighting her passion and commitment. Joy had an energy that was contagious. She inspired not only her students, but all of us who worked alongside her. In the days following her death, the community organized candlelight vigils to honor her memory. Hundreds gathered, holding candles and sharing stories of how joy had touched their lives. On social media, the hashtag number Justice for Joy began trending as friends, family, and community members demanded accountability and sought to raise awareness about domestic violence. Despite the immediate suspicion surrounding Calvin Lamont Jackson, an arrest was not made right away, leading to frustration and questions within the community. The Hampton Police Division initiated a death investigation on June 25, 2023, after responding to the scene. While the incident appeared domestic-related, the investigation required meticulous evidence gathering to build a solid case. Legal procedures necessitate thorough investigations, especially in cases involving fatalities. Authorities must ensure that all evidence is collected and analyzed to support charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Friends and family of Joy expressed their frustration over the perceived delay in action. We were devastated by Joy's loss and couldn't understand why it was taking so long to hold someone accountable. The community's impatience was rooted in their grief and the desire for swift justice for a beloved individual whose life was tragically cut short. The pain of Joy's loss was deeply felt by those closest to her. Friends and family members shared their emotional testimonies, reflecting on the void left in their lives. Joy was the light of our family, her smile, her laughter. It's hard to imagine life without her. She had so many dreams, so much she wanted to achieve. It's heartbreaking to know she won't get that chance. These personal stories underscored the profound impact of Joy's death and highlighted the importance of raising awareness about domestic violence. Joy confided in us about her fears. We need to ensure that others in similar situations have the support and protection they need. The tragedy of Joy's death served as a stark reminder of the dangers of domestic violence and the critical need for community awareness and intervention. As the community mourned, they also rallied, turning their grief into a movement advocating for change and justice for Joy. The journey for justice was just beginning, as the legal process unfolded and the community remained steadfast in their demand for accountability. Through their collective efforts, Joy's legacy would continue to inspire change and bring attention to the critical issue of domestic violence. The story of Joy Brown is a testament to the strength of a community united in the face of tragedy, determined to seek justice and prevent such losses in the future. As we reflect on her life and the aftermath of her untimely death, we are reminded of the importance of vigilance, support, and action in addressing domestic violence. In the next chapter, we will delve into the legal proceedings that followed and the lasting impact of Joy's story on the community and beyond. Stay with us as we continue to honor Joy's memory and explore the pursuit of justice in her name. For weeks, the Hampton community waited. As vigils were held and demands for justice grew louder, one question remained. When would Calvin Lamont Jackson be held accountable? The moment the community had been waiting for finally arrived. On July 7, 2023, nearly 2 weeks after Joy Kemitra Brown was found dead in her home, Calvin Lamont Jackson walked into the Pat G. Minetti Public Safety Building and turned himself in to authorities. His surrender marked a critical turning point in the case, bringing a mix of relief and frustration. Some were relieved that an arrest had finally been made. Others questioned why it took so long. The Hampton Police Division wasted no time in officially charging Jackson with multiple serious offenses: second-degree murder, the intentional killing of Joy Brown without premeditation, use of a firearm in the commission of a felony, the possession and use of a weapon while committing a crime, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, a charge linked to Jackson's prior criminal record, shooting into an occupied dwelling, a charge related to the gunfire that took Joy's life. The severity of these charges reflected the gravity of the crime. Authorities stated that the evidence, including forensic findings, witness statements, and Jackson's history of domestic violence, played a crucial role in building the case. The Hampton Police Division released an official statement following Jackson's arrest, affirming their commitment to seeking justice for Joy Brown. This remains an active and ongoing investigation. We understand the community's concerns and are working closely with the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office to ensure a thorough prosecution. While Jackson's arrest marked progress, it was just the beginning of a long legal process. The next steps involve preliminary hearings, court proceedings, and the potential for a trial. With Jackson in custody, legal experts weighed in on what could come next. The potential sentencing outcomes varied depending on how the case proceeded in court. If convicted of second-degree murder, Jackson could face 5 to 40 years in prison. The firearm-related charges could add additional time, possibly extending a sentence significantly. However, as with any criminal case, the legal process could bring unexpected developments. Jackson's defense team would likely argue mitigating factors, while the prosecution aimed to present the strongest case possible. Joy Brown's case became more than just a local tragedy. It highlighted broader concerns about the justice system's handling of domestic violence cases. We've seen time and time again that warning signs are ignored. The justice system often fails to intervene until it's too late. Joy's story reignited conversations about the need for stronger protections for victims, faster legal responses, and more support for those trying to leave abusive relationships. The arrest of Calvin Lamont Jackson was a crucial step in the fight for justice. But for Joy's family, friends, and supporters, the journey was far from over. The next chapter would unfold in the courtroom, where the weight of evidence, the arguments of attorneys, and the voices of those left behind would determine the outcome of the case. In the next chapter, we examine the legal proceedings, the courtroom battle, and the continued fight to ensure that Joy Brown's story leads to lasting change. As the case moves through the justice system, one truth remains unchanged. Joy Kimitra Brown's life was more than the tragedy that ended it. She was a daughter, a mother, a teacher, a mentor, and a friend. She left behind a legacy that will not be forgotten. For those who knew and loved Joy, the pain of her loss is immeasurable. But so is the impact she left behind. Ms. Brown wasn't just a teacher, she cared. She pushed us to be better, to believe in ourselves. She made learning feel like more than just schoolwork. It was about life. She had this energy that made the classroom come alive. You could tell teaching wasn't just her job. It was her passion. The students adored her. Beyond the classroom, Joey had dreams of building generational wealth, of providing a better future for her daughter. She worked tirelessly in real estate, showing the same level of care for her clients as she did for her students. She was a force. She wanted people to know that homeownership wasn't just for the wealthy, it was for everyone willing to put in the work. She was changing lives, one family at a time. Joy's story is a painful reminder of the dangers of domestic violence. She tried to leave. She sought protection. She spoke out. And yet the system failed to keep her safe. Every year, thousands of women face similar threats. Some escape. Others, like Joy, don't get that chance. But we can do better. We must do better. If you or someone you know is in a dangerous relationship, don't wait. Seek help. There are organizations, shelters, and support networks ready to assist you. Joy Brown's life was about love, resilience, and ambition. She wasn't just trying to survive. She was trying to thrive, to build, to inspire. She was just trying to live, be happy, and provide for her daughter. Her story will not be forgotten. How many times have we heard this story before? A life full of promise, a woman striving to build a future, a mother pouring her heart into her child, a teacher shaping young minds, a friend bringing light to those around her, only to have it all stolen in an instant. How many more names must be added to the list before something changes? Joy Kimitra Brown's story is one that should have never ended this way. She was not just a statistic. She was not just another headline. She was a daughter, a mother, an educator, a businesswoman, a mentor, a person with dreams and aspirations. She was loved. She was needed. And yet, despite all the warning signs, despite all the cries for help, despite all the legal documentation of past abuse, she still became a victim of something so many suffer from: domestic violence. This is not just Joy's story. This is the story of thousands, millions, who endure fear in their own homes, who walk on eggshells every day, who live under the shadow of someone they once loved. This is the story of those who reach out for help but are met with delays, skepticism, or silence. This is the story of a broken system that allows warning signs to be ignored, restraining orders to be violated, and abusers to walk free until the worst happens. Joy did everything right. She worked hard. She provided for her daughter. She built a successful career. She made her concerns known. She told people she was afraid. And yet here we are, telling her story in past tense. Her death was not just a tragedy, it was a failure. A failure of the justice system to protect her. A failure of society to take domestic violence as seriously as it should. A failure of too many people to intervene before it was too late. But here's the truth. It's not too late to make sure this never happens again. If you or someone you love is in an abusive relationship, please do not wait. Do not assume things will change. Do not believe it will get better on its own. Do not stay silent. There is help. There are people who will listen. There are organizations that can provide safety, guidance, and a way out. We must demand more from our legal system. We must push for stronger laws, stricter enforcement, and real consequences for abusers before another life is lost. We must ensure that restraining orders actually protect victims. We must make sure law enforcement responds swiftly to reports of domestic violence, that survivors are taken seriously, that repeated offenders are not given chance after chance to harm again. We must change the culture around domestic violence. No more victim blaming. No more asking why they stayed instead of asking why the abuser was allowed to keep hurting them. No more turning a blind eye when we see a friend, a coworker, a family member struggling. If you see something, say something. You could be the reason someone gets the help they need before it's too late. This is not just Joy's fight. This is our fight. Because right now, somewhere, another Joy is scared. Another Joy is planning her escape. Another Joy is sending a text saying, "I don't feel safe." Another Joy is hoping that someone will step in before it's too late. Joy Brown should still be here today. Her story did not have to end this way. But if we stand together, if we refuse to let her name be forgotten, if we demand better, if we look out for those who need help, then maybe, just maybe, we can stop another family from feeling this pain. Joy Brown's story is one of many that need to be told. Too often, these stories fade away, and the victims are forgotten. We cannot let that happen. If you believe in seeking justice, if you believe in raising awareness, if you believe in making a difference, then be part of this movement. Like this video, share it with others, and most importantly, subscribe to this channel. By subscribing, you help bring more stories like Joy's to light. Stories that deserve to be heard, stories that demand justice. Together, we can raise awareness, push for change, and be a voice for those who can no longer speak. Click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that matters. Because every life matters. Every voice deserves to be heard, and justice must be pursued for all.